What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the NerdGen Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz. Brian.
Sorry I've been away so long. I won't let you down again.
I was talking to Tracy about Superman, and I was like, yo, watching that movie the first 20 minutes before he becomes Superman, you don't need to do an origin film after that. Amazing.
Before we even start,
I
actually think Zach did a pretty good job with that.
Yes.
Of making it different, making it interesting, but we're good. With those two versions, I don't ever need to see it again.
Yes. We got a lot to talk about. A lot of things happened, and I had made a video, Brian, sort of defending the reasoning behind the 8-minute release. Because the guy really wanted people to come out and see this movie. So I saw the first 8 minutes. I was like, I don't know. And then the horror of everybody watching this and destroying it so much that Sony has thrown in the towel. And like Duke said a long time ago, the Marvel Roundup.
We told you the second that RDJ popped up on stage, we told you this was coming.
And now they're back. A few holdouts, right? Maybe, I don't know, Black Widow, I don't know, but who knows? Just give it time. The numbers aren't right yet. DC, Creature Commandos. Brian, I haven't gotten the chance to see the third episode, but I want to see it. I've been meaning to see it, but I've been busy. I'm going to put a Ric Flair joint. It's showtime. This is it. What's that song? This is it. No, this is it. This week will get people who are interested in DC IP ready for their pitch. Or on the other side, it could be the beginning of what had only been one studio that was able to accomplish it. And we'll go back to Sony because they were trying to do something similar, which we could have told you, or we've been telling you, we've been telling you that this wasn't going to work. But DC could be closer to the top of where MCU has been, what they created. And that'll lead us to another show. I think we're going to do a separate show, Brian, about the trailers.
We'll link to it. Yeah, we want to talk about what we think are the best teasers and trailers in IP verse ahead of this, which we're hoping will force us to change these rankings in a week's time.
Brian, I hope you're right in terms of it coming out Thursday. Is this confirmed?
So there's a press conference tomorrow to screen the teaser for studio executives and very select media members. There's a lot of scuttle going around that it will come out Thursday online for worldwide consumption. That would coincide with the release of Mufasa. Obviously, we'll start showing in theaters on Thursday. So all signs point to it being physically attached to that. So yeah, it is. When you said Showtime, I thought you were going to make reference to Apollo again, going around the ring and say, "It's Showtime! It's time to go to school."
That could possibly make the cut, Brian. I'll put it in the audition to see if it fits. This will be an interesting conversation because there was one standout, and I have my list that when I had seen it, I had known nothing about it. It was still before the MCU, where people were just making superhero films just to make money. Really, nothing to the extent that Kevin thought of it and was able to accomplish, and what I was hoping for a long time already. But let's start. We foresaw this conclusion a very, very long time ago, Brian. I had said once that the only way that Sony's going to give up this this ambition of wanting to be in the same conversation as Marvel, that the fans would have to somewhat boycott. It wasn't because fans didn't want to go see it. It's because Sony kept on giving us garbage.
Bingo.
That is why this is over. But eventually, Brian, I think as you hear across the news about empty theaters, people just, this is almost the same thing without us saying it, that we're boycotting. We just don't want it anymore. Go away. Your thoughts?
I almost feel like you should just put together a montage of clips from prior shows that we did about this, because remember, I have been saying, I've been plastering, I've been putting up like bulletin board material, 900 characters. And what did we say all along? How many characters do you really have? You got one. And come to find out, when you don't have that one and you don't deploy that one everywhere, every which way that you have the right to, and then you don't build quality film and product away from that one character, shock of shocks, audiences reject what you have to offer to the point where your universe is dead on arrival. So Craven the Hunter, which neither of us has seen, which is saying something. We probably will, but not just yet.
I watch it on WPIX 11 whenever, if that channel still exists, where like had 3 minutes of commercials.
Yeah, you mean that'll be that will, so based upon, if we rewind the clock, that would show after Death Wish 4, basically, on a Sunday afternoon. That's what that would be.
Rebel Moon on that channel will be a whole day.
So look, I mean, Craven, the thing about Craven, you get the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score, which is saying something, low teens. You get the lowest audience score, even lower than Madam Web, C-, and you get the lowest box office opening weekend, again, even lower than Madam Web. You get a variety feature story that comes out talking about sort of the misfire that was the Sony MCU, and then you get Sony Spider-Verse, and then you get sort of the news item that this is it, that Sony's giving up pursuing additional projects beyond Spider-Man, trying to sort out Spider-Verse, which we've talked about is having some issues, and then I think they are sticking with this Nick Cage Spider Noir. It's like Thanos. Where did it lead you? It leads you back to Spider-Man. What are we left with? Spider-Man, Spider-Man, and Spider-Man. 3 different versions of actual Spider-Man is what we've got. So what's fascinating to me about the variety feature is the hubris. I mean, on the part of Sony. Like, this article talks about the fact that the studio was basically duped by the success of Venom 1, and thinking that was proof positive they could build a universe of films where Spider-Man did not participate, and that audiences would simply line up to see what they had.
Are you kidding me? You're trying to convince me that you can build a universe that doesn't include that mentions he's somewhere, whatever.
So, as we've said, Venom 1 comes out in 2018, the peak of the superhero bubble. Yeah. As we said, like 2018, you get Black Panther, universally acclaimed and lauded, $1.3 billion. You get Avengers Infinity War, $2 billion. Great film. But 2018, Aquaman makes over $1 billion. Venom makes 800. That was the time when people would give the benefit of the doubt to anything superhero. That was the deke. Venom 1 is okay. It's not classic. It's okay. It's interesting, but it's
classic for a Venom movie.
Right, but
It ain't classic. It ain't in my libraries of best superhero films ever. No.
Yeah, it's a B-sides, superhero movie. So I don't, for the article makes it seem like the executives walked away from that thinking they had cracked the code. And the amazing thing about it is it says that in the Sony Marvel or Sony Disney contract, there was nothing in there that prevented Sony from using Tom Holland's Spider-Man or another version of Spider-Man in any of their projects. They were free to use him. So Marvel was restricted as far as where they could use Tom Holland. Sony was not. And they declined. They passed. And the article says they passed on using him because they felt that audiences would not find it credible if the Tom Holland Spider-Man was showing up in places outside of the central MCU timeline.
If you're having this conversation with me and you're trying to convince me of that, I'm telling you to get out, because what you're saying to me does not make sense. And if you want to continue this, okay, watch. Watch what happens.
Well,
and look what happened.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, so if that was an actual conversation in a Sony Studios boardroom, which it seems like it was, you and I would have been throwing ourselves in front of what they eventually did and being like, Sony effectively left Michael Jordan on the bench. That's what it is. Like, they could have played him. They could have put Holland in. They could have linked all these movies with a Sinister Six build and given him 5 to 10 minutes in each of these movies to help sell them. And they chose to pass. That's arrogance. And that's delusion.
Oh, yeah. I was waiting for you. Thank you. Arrogance, ego, all that involves the self.
And they still don't get it because the article implies they feel like the universe was done in because the audience moved away from the industry as a whole. What did you lead with? Yes. Are we past peak superhero hype? We are. But
we're never past greatness.
Correct. You're blaming industry forces. The stuff you issued was crap. Nobody was like, if they put out Madam Web in 2018, that still would have bombed.
Yeah, don't try to convince me of garbage.
So it just kind of shows you that even in defeat, Sony still can't process exactly what happened.
No, they can process. They're spinning the hell out of it.
It wasn't me, basically. That's all people. Actually, you can get up the thing about all the Spider-Men pointing at each other, right? That's the Sony executives all pointing at each other, right? It wasn't me. It was that guy,
Oh, my goodness. And the fact that people, listen, I've heard a lot of reviews and everyone is in consensus of how horrible this movie is. And still people... they have these small debates of which one is the worst. Man, I'm like, why are we having this conversations? It is over. It is done with. Still, their one, I guess, success, the Miles Morales animation joint, right? Which is having trouble finishing up.
Yeah, it's having studio troubles. Not coincidentally, perhaps. It's like...
yeah, man. When there is success, there are people who want to latch on. And for whatever reason, they want to give you input on something they may not know nothing about. With regards to the character, forget about the movies. You may know about production and getting people together and seeing a lot of things here and there. But in terms of what people expect, because there are expectations that you have to meet. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If your expectations, we have to have an explosion here, I'm sorry. I can't be having a conversation with you about this.
I think it also underscores this is an area, regardless of, we can critique Kevin and Marvel in other areas more recently. But this is an area where they've shown a very steady hand, which is when they've been allowed to influence the direction of the Holland Spider-Man, our results have been unilaterally good. And you can see, like we talked about it before, Sony always gets an inflated sense of what they bring to the table in that equation. Yeah. Like you can just see it. Like every time they're kind of like, we're the ones responsible for the success of the Spider-Man franchise because it's our character. And then you realize, like, when you see the article and you see these results in the other movies, you're like, well, no, it's Kevin and Marvel that are making good decisions
and
around
your
Spider-Man.
Your past success was due to the director who cared enough to give you a good story. It had nothing to do with you.
Yeah, but I think, the other contrast is like we were worried about No Way Home, and Kevin is the one who told them go bigger, put more of the Sinister Six in No Way Home. But he obviously was smart enough to understand, as long as I have Spider-Man there to linchpin and tie all of that together, I can do that. I can pull that off. And John Watts did. What we're finding is, they couldn't do that elsewhere. And for some reason kept thinking, I heard, I haven't seen it, but how there is like, in Madam Web, there is a Spider-Man, right? The villain basically is a suited Spider-Man as a villain. And then there's this civilization of spider people like in the jungle. And then apparently Craven has some kind of nightmare where he's attacked by spiders in this movie, where that's supposed to be like a harbinger of like his going up against Spider-Man. And it's like, just shows a fundamental misunderstanding and sort of an almost, you're insulting the audience's intelligence, where like the audience is like, I get it. Like, these people are famous because of Spider-Man. They ride his coattails, which goes to you don't have 900 characters. You don't. You have one.
You have one. And if you had other characters, it's obviously you don't know how to utilize them.
Yeah, and I just think the degree of difficulty, for every Venom 1 and every Joker 1 and every Penguin TV series, like that degree of difficulty is incredibly high. And like, you have to find this lane and this niche or the right creator to, and we're going to keep seeing people do it, right? Because DC is dabbling with Deathstroke and Bane, and they just greenlit a Clayface movie the other day, which came out of nowhere. Like, so they might be making some of the same mistakes for all we know. And we continue to see that, Marvel's doing it in TV, right? Like, I'm not saying the Agatha series was bad, but same idea, right there, right? So you're going to keep seeing it, but rarely do you see it fail so spectacularly and be so costly as this turned out to be. Like, this was the year of Sony. Like, there's one Marvel movie this year. There's one DC movie this year. So Sony had the stage. This was it. This was the Jets are going to win the Super Bowl this year, right? And instead it might finish last. Like, that's what Sony delivered.
Before we move on to Marvel, what do you think Aaron Taylor Johnson's chance of being Bond are now?
Oh, it did not help. I do not think this helped.
I was waiting. This was something. If anything, this was his audition. There was a lot of rumor previous to this movie coming out, way before this movie came out, of him being on the top of the list.
Yeah, rumors he blew them away in an audition. Yeah, that was the word.
I mean, I can picture him, but his voice obviously doesn't live up to the voices that we've had in the past. But I'd say this doesn't bode well for his chances now.
I'm not a great fan of his. I got to be honest. Like, he's just not, he's like a workman-like, serviceable, supporting character to me. That's what he is. I think he's miscast as a leading man. I can't think of a role where I'm like, whoa, that guy sold it to me. And like, to me, James Bond is a high degree of difficulty character to do really, really well, especially now where you have the legacy of Connery and the legacy of Craig in particular. But, let's not dismiss Brosnan and Moore either, who kind of had more on the silly side. But all of them have charisma. All of them have suave. All of them have panache and presence. And like, to me, that's just not Aaron Taylor Johnson's line, man. It's just not what he sells as an actor. So,
let us know in the comment section below I don't really care what anyone thinks about the Sony Spider-Verse, because it's over. It's over. Just like the DCEU. Throw that in the can. Marvel. I heard Brian the other day. What is this? This is movie that Ryan Reynolds is doing. I think with Hugh. I don't know if he's doing, but I recently heard that he's doing the movie about a getting the band back together sort of movie. Like sort of like, they were a boy band. Now they're getting the band back together all these years later. So it seems Kevin is bringing everybody back together for a last hurrah. Seemingly so for him. The news came out this week that Chris Evans is back. No surprise. No surprise.
Zip.
None. I was watching Campia the other day, and he said, in general, that people thinking that it is desperation on behalf of the Marvel Studios and Disney to bring back RDJ and Chris Evans, that is a stupid perspective to think that. What I think is this: we never minded RDJ coming back. We never minded Chris Evans would not come back. We thought these people would come back at some point. Why? A number of reasons. The roster that they got for an Avengers film isn't suitable for the degree of numbers that they want to accomplish with this next Avengers. Just consider it. A movie without RDJ. Let's say that we haven't. The lineup is Shang-Chi, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel. Come on. Aquafina. Come on. There was no way that was going to work. So they brought back RDJ. And I always said it. RDJ can come back. Life Model Decoy. He said it. He was the first guy to say it. He was capable of that. You've seen it throughout the films, how far away he wanted to be removed from it. But no, they're bringing him back as Dr. Doom. Not just Dr. Doom, Victor Von Doom, which we hope. I don't think, Brian, that they will let us in that he is actually Tony Stark and that he was adopted into the Doom family. I don't think they'll give us that. But if he is, in fact, Victor Von Doom, yes, it is desperation. We knew Chris Evans was coming back, and they're doing it. He's supposed to be like Nomad, maybe. I think it's a rumor. I'm fine with that. But RDJ as Doom makes no freaking sense whatsoever. I don't care what you tell me. It doesn't make any sense that he is Victim Von Doom, unless he is Tony Stark and he was adopted. I'll let that slide because that makes sense in this alternate universe. But him being Victor Von Doom, your thoughts, Brian, on the people coming back? And Scarlett Johansson is probably,
she'll be back.
Again, the numbers ain't right yet.
She'll be back. Plus, she's going to get an extra kiss from the studio for the whole flap they gave her the last time. So she's just waiting. And honestly, RDJ, man, we just recycle clips. When they announced RDJ, we listed the roster, and I said, I bet RDJ's telling them on the group text, the Avengers group text, he's like, hold out. He's like, we got him now. He's like, we got him now. He's like, they bring the duffel bag. You wait for the truck. They bring the truck. You wait for the vault. Like that's all they're doing. It is desperation. So consider me stupid or consider me ignorant for calling it what it is. First off, let's do the sequencing here. Iger comes back, publicly says my number one focus is Marvel. Iger then goes through the whole Mouse House, and what is he doing? Sequel. He running it back everywhere.
Yeah.
So he calls Kevin. He says, "We need the OGs. We need them back. We need to run it back." Kevin's like, "They're not going to do it. We're not touching Endgame. They're not going to touch that." And Bob says, "I don't care how you get them back. Just get them back." Okay. So Kevin calls RDJ. What's it going to take? RDJ says, "Let me look at the catalog. I'll let you know." How about Doom? Okay. Now, Kevin will say, we need to get Doom right. Come on, man. Don't insult my intelligence. This was driven by RDJ saying, here is the manner in which I'd be willing to come back. I will not touch what I did in the Infinity Saga. And Kevin says, great. You want Doom? You got it. To which RDJ fires off the group text. Yo, I'm Doom. And everyone else fires back and says, who can I play that isn't who I played before? That's it. That's what's going on. Like, that's what's going on. They're all going to come back as alt versions, multiversal variants, some other version of themselves.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, and the studio knows they need to do it because think about it. If they come back as the old version, you can't. Yeah, you can sell the same toy, but you know what's better than selling the same old toy? Selling a new toy. Making a new Lego set.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, come on, people, do the math here on what's actually happening. And why is it necessary? For exactly what Pablo said and what we've been talking about for 5 years. They have not been able to build a next generation of Avengers that has connected with audiences remotely as well or as commercially as the first. So yes, it is desperation because they ain't going to show up to the Super Bowl, which is an Avengers movie, with a 3-14 roster.
Yeah. There are different levels of desperation, and then we'll move on. Jean, if you are familiar with Jean-Claude Van Damme and how he got started in Hollywood, look it up. He'll tell you that he was given the role of Bloodsport. He said he was going through his mind of what was available to him. The producer was, hey, give me that script that was in development hell for years or whatever. They gave him Bloodsport. He was begging for something. Jean-Claude Van Damme didn't know he was going to get Bloodsport. He was begging for something.
He thought he was going to be the Predator. He was the Predator.
I do remember some story. I wasn't really sure of what the story was. I thought it was like a stunt double because I could have sworn I saw him do something.
So he was the original incarnation. We never saw what the creature looked like because he was wearing like a suit that was going to be reworked. But he was on set in the jungle as the Predator. And then
you know what else he was on set for?
What's that?
Breaking.
Oh.
If you go back to Breaking in some of the dance sequences, he is back there doing his kickboxer routine. It didn't change. That was his first taste of Hollywood. I got to keep doing this. But he got Bloodsport. He begged for something. There was desperation there. Why? Because he believed he can do something. This is not belief of anything other than we can't make $2 or $3 billion without you guys.
Yep.
That's what this is about.
And we need to squeeze every last bit out of you.
Exactly. Squeeze the juice as much as get every little bit of that drop.
And I still think part of this is also it's Kevin's last ride. Every announcement that of this nature just makes me feel more that way because it's like if I was him, I'd want to work with my friends too one more time. Right?
I don't want to work with new people and then it's gonna be whack and then it's like it's bitter after that.
Yeah, this is
I want to leave. This is
the definition of one last ride.
He's gonna be. You think he's not going to be on set? He's going to be chilling, having a good old time, having drinks, talking about what they're going to be doing for the next 20 years.
He wants to do interviews. He wants to do red carpet. He wants to do press tour with these people. These are the people that he grew up with, basically, that made him the most successful producer statistically in the history of Hollywood. And if he is considering some kind of career change, it would make perfect sense that his final act would be some combination of wrap it up with these guys, set the table for the X-Men, which is where he got his start, and that's it.
We're calling it right now. Or we've been calling it.
Yeah.
We've been saying that this is Kevin's last. It's over after this.
Yeah. We'll be getting the Last Dance 30 for 30 on him in a couple of years.
But I think we'll see him still be a part of the mutant saga? Because I believe that's something that he wants to do because it's his turn now.
I think he wants to be the launch pad. But I think at that point, him as primary creative in all of these projects, I don't know that he'll want to do. I don't know that he's doing that anymore. He might become just like an executive producer and everything, which is basically like he's in the background, putting his name
having
on
conversations.
things.
Yeah.
Collecting checks. Yeah. Let's ask the obvious question. Okay, so now we have the confirmation of what we suspected all along, which is we are going to have an Avengers 5 and presumably 6, which will be centered on actors that we've all seen before in the Infinity Saga. How does that change your view or perception of Avengers 5 and 6?
I mean, there are a lot of interesting theories out there, Brian, of what this story may be about. And I have to say, Brian, thinking about it deeply, because I want this to succeed, right? I want to go to the movies and have that, those moments of Infinity War and Endgame and No Way Home. Those are, to say that you weren't there for that is like a travesty.
Mm-hmm.
The Russos have an eye for this genre, I think. Outside of it, they do some great action sequences and stuff like that. They do some decent stuff, but it hasn't really worked out for them in terms of elevating their genius with what they did with Marvel stuff. So I think this gets them, obviously, we've already heard what they're getting for this, but they don't got to think about nothing now. They just got to think about and focus on this. And they know, like we know, what this needs to be. We don't know what it is. We have no idea. I hope, Brian, that I am pleasantly surprised, like I was with No Way Home. Regardless of what, I'm not saying I'm not going to go see this movie because RDJ is Victor. I want to see what he's going to do and what Chris Evans is going to do and what these other characters are going to do. I'm there, but I'm not going in there with the same excitement that I have for Infinity War nor Endgame. Why? You haven't built nothing towards it that makes me excited.
That's, to me, the biggest challenge and difference. And I would point out also, we also forgot, by the way, in the category of returnees, I know she's not quite as high profile, but Haley Atwell was also confirmed to be back as some version of Peggy Carter or Captain Carter. We don't know what. That was confirmed. So she's back too. RDJ obviously has the hardest job because he's actually inhabiting this central, classic, epic, villainous character. The other OGs, I think, kind of have it easy. I got to be honest, right? Like their parts are going to be smaller. They're playing in the white space of a variant of themselves.
Yeah,
that's a lot easier than what RDJ is being asked to do. So I kind of don't really see a lot of downside. Like Chris Evans effectively was a version of Nomad-ish in Infinity War, right? Like it's Cap without the the traditional trappings, right? That clearly was a riff on a Nomad. It wasn't the Nomad.
But his philosophy wasn't expressed in that film. I think we'll get a philosophical sentiment as to why he is who he is.
But I think that's easier for him. I think that's what I mean. Like, I don't think there's any downside. That's what I see. The convincing pitch is like, okay, the money, RDJ's back, all the Russos are back, Kevin's going to be shepherding this. But you have no downside from an acting perspective because you can just do this other riff on your character and like, who's there to be like, that was bad? It doesn't really matter. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the stakes for Nomad are not the same. Doom has stakes. So I think for these OGs, it's like fun work. I really do. Like, that's why I think it'll be kind of easy to pitch almost all of them on it. I'm gonna probably say like Hemsworth maybe has a little bit because he still is Thor. He's not actually playing a variant. He's still playing himself at a different point. So, that one maybe is more resonant, but like getting, I don't know how much. I mean, Jeremy Renner said physically after the accident, he's not really able to do as much anymore, but I'm sure they can find some way to get him, in the control room, even if he can't be out in the field or something. And I mean, I guess we have to endure another version of Ruffalo's Hulk. I don't know what we'll do with that, but and then you've got some, you get the new Avengers are going to be there. There was a quote this week kind of confirming that, Anthony Mackie is going to be basically anointed the leader of the new Avengers. And obviously that will set up some competing interests when we start getting the variants of the original Avengers in there. But I think the point you make is the key one, right? So if Cap 4 is as much of a mess as it seems like it's going to be, maybe you get a little uptick with Thunderbolts, which seems to be, showing some hope. But there's no momentum. So you're kind of, in even Fantastic Four, which we hope is good, it's kind of not a building block. It's sort of its own thing, right? We're just sort of setting up, presumably, the future of Marvel, even though they're going to be in the Avengers movies as well. So this Avengers 5 is really like being asked to break them out of the slump. It's not being asked to do what Avengers 1 did, which was build on the goodwill of these origin stories and elevate them to true blockbuster level. This thing is being asked to save the day. Literally, that's a lot. And let's put it this way. I think I'll be pleasantly surprised, and I know you're going to tell me this number's too low. I'll be pleasantly surprised if this outgrosses Ultron, which was kind of around 1.3, 1.4. I think if they get to 1.5 with Avengers 5, that would exceed my current expectations. Yeah. It should be 2 billion plus, but I just don't think you get there with no momentum at all. I think that's almost hard. Impossible.
I mean, I think you get a whopping weekend because of the curiosity. But if the movie is whack and people don't feel the same, the way those are the elements that we have to that we're waiting for to hear from once this is done. If that performance is that compelling and that captivating and that different, that people want to come back over and over again, because that's what it takes.
Well, if Avengers 5 is not good, like not great, then Secret Wars kind of becomes like, you're looking at like, are we looking at like a Matrix Revolutions type of situation? Again, where the culmination is just forgotten and a disaster. Like, I hope not.
But you said it. We had this conversation last time that, RDJ is in every scene. This is he's Atlas right now. He's Atlas. Brian, one thing before we move on. I've heard the theory regarding World War Hulk. Makes a lot of sense in terms of what they are attempting to do. I just don't like it. And that is Captain America 4 is going to sort of set up this sort of thing where the Red Hulk is just the beginning of other countries having Hulks as well. The leader creates this sort of thing to give others the ability to become the Hulk, right? And I guess he gives them toward world leaders. And hence you get this World War Hulk situation, Brian. This sounds disgusting. The fact that you strip away what the World War Hulk storyline was and just using the words to create your own World War Hulk situation, Brian, if you would have told me Sony was doing it, I'd believe you. But the fact that Marvel is doing this, I do have to go back because how I used to sing the praises. Marvel can do no wrong. And now I'm just waiting for another train to get started so I can jump on that. Because this train, I am so off.
It's interesting. Like, is the Hulk like Marvel's white whale? Like, it because it's the character that has always eluded them, if you think about it, right? The Ang Lee Hulk, the Norton Hulk is not bad, but like audiences didn't like it any better. Box office exactly the same. it felt like a step forward with the Ruffalo Hulk in Avengers 1. I actually think
Avengers 2 was all right too.
I was going to say, I actually think the Ruffalo Hulk peaks with him getting his ass kicked by Thanos at the start of Infinity War. That's it.
That was the death
moment
of the Hulk right there.
That's it. That's the moment. So in that moment, it all turns, right? And so just when you think the character, they might have this thing kind of figured out, like it falls apart because then he becomes sort of like comic relief in the Hulkbuster costume. Then we get Professor Hulk. Then we get She-Hulk. Then we get the Hulk family barbecue. And like now we're at Red Hulk. And now we're at World War Hulk, where nobody really wants to see because we're like, you've messed up the Hulk. So see what I'm saying? Like, for whatever reason, of all the characters, the Hulk is proving to be the one where Marvel does not have the Midas touch. Like Kevin they just haven't figured it out. They just don't have it. Like,
Brian, I'm going to say on this show right now, give it to me. I'm going to give you a Pedro Serrano. Hey, bring that shit to me, man. I'll do it. Because to me, obviously, and we'll move on after this, but the Hulk is not horror, but that suspense. You're not supposed to be smiling when the Hulk over. There's collateral damage. None of his fault.
I don't think Ang Lee's Hulk is a good movie, but I think Ang Lee had one proper idea in there, which I don't think has been harvested properly. To me, the Hulk is a tragic hero. You have to, you have to look at everything through that lens.
Yes.
If you try to make the Hulk family friendly, if you try to make the Hulk a sunny day
Tracy
hero,
would say, yes.
Doesn't work. The Hulk, the point of the Bixby show that is lasting is the end of every episode. He's alone, walking off into the distance because he has nowhere that he belongs. That's the journey of the Hulk.
Today I was watching The Return of the Incredible Hulk with Thor. I was like, look, babe, what the Avengers were back then. But whoever was to play I think Ruffalo started off fantastic in Avengers, but then it just went into this comic relief crap that I just don't give a damn about this version of the Hulk and what the MCU has done with it. And I would go in there and talk to people like, yo, what do you guys have against the Hulk, yo? Why are you making what? And you make Deadpool and Wolverine, right? But the Hulk gotta be funny and don't talk back to you. What? Listen, I'll say it again. I'm gonna say it one more time. I never minded them coming back. It's just the way they did it. Just shows desperation. That's all.
I mean, again, I'll just, before we leave it, we're not talking about it right now, but look what's happening over in Ryan Reynolds land right now. Like, that's another form of desperation, right? Like, Disney needed Deadpool. They needed the win.
Yeah.
And they gave him the keys. And he got his good buddy, Hugh, to help him. But in the long run, what you see afterwards is kind of what happens when you give the keys. And I'm not saying Ryan Reynolds doesn't have talent or that he's not. He is successful.
Oh, yeah.
But now you see, like, he's like, oh, I want to make Deadpool this ongoing supporting character so I can put Channing Tatum's Gambit over, or I can do this. And like, Marvel can't wait to do the Wesley Snipes Blade Legacy movie. Like, historically, Marvel didn't let even the likes of RDJ have that kind of say at the table, but they needed a win. And they got it. They got a 1.3 record-breaking R-rated movie win this year. But the price of that win might be Ryan Reynolds is going to have a lot of say, a lot of control. And like, at some point, nobody bats 1,000 on their ideas. And some of these ideas he's floating out there right now, I'm like,
Yeah, I was like, I'm not even entertaining them unless it happens, and then we'll talk about it. DC Creature Commandos. We got some teasers that we want to sort of highlight as to what those teasers or trailers did for us in terms of the anticipation that we had for those films. But Creature Commandos, Ryan, have you seen all the episodes?
Haven't
I
seen
didn't
the
see
latest.
the third one.
Okay, we're in the same boat. Haven't seen the
Okay.
latest episode. I would describe it as I'm entertained. I think it's well written, as I would expect a James Gunn project to be. I'm not all the way in on it yet. Like it hasn't taken me hostage the way that like X-Men 97
No.
did. It's kind of a little more like Cape Crusader, although it doesn't have the Batman anchor to kind of draw me in. But it's kind of like I'm there. I'm intrigued. I'll stay with it, but I don't. It hasn't cracked that like upper echelon that these top animated shows have been pushing for us. Like it's like Invincible, or we always bring Blue Eye Samurai into this discussion. Like it's not there yet. It's not there yet, but it's interesting. It's not bad. It's interesting. I recommend people check it out.
He said episode 4 and 7 are the ones that are really the ones he favors
Okay.
quite a bit. So we'll see what that's about. And I'm anticipating, and I think he even mentioned it. He didn't want to speak too much on it, but he said episode 4 might be the Weasel's backstory.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting to see. But from my perspective, Creature Commandos is just the same comedic timing, tone, these long stretches of conversation that go nowhere sometimes just for comic relief, and it's just like
Yeah,
can we move on from this?
It's it is definitely quintessential James Gunn, and there's a little bit of Tarantino riff in there, a little bit with the title cards and the music, and like I said, it's not bad. It's not bad. I feel like this is one of those things. Had it come out a couple years ago, I think I would actually like it more. But now, because I feel like the animated genre has leveled up, my bar has gone up, and so this is kind of like I said, it's intriguing me, but it isn't like captivating me yet.
Yes. Let's do the teasers and trailers. So you have a list of your top 5, correct?
Right. So we have rules. So our rules are movie, not TV show, can be a teaser, can be a trailer, has to be IP driven. So you could have some great individual, like I'll give you a off the radar one. So the teaser trailer for Girl with a Dragon Tattoo starring Daniel Craig is phenomenal. Not IP. But I'm saying that's, if you've never seen it, it uses Led Zeppelin. It's incredible. It's just but it's much better than the movie. But anyway, so like stuff like that you can't use. Like if you love the trailer for Inception, great. Can't use it. It's not an IP film. So had to be an IP teaser or trailer in history, as we hope that Superman will live up to and sort of join the club. But yeah, we got 5. I think we'll try to get some clips in our show so you can kind of follow along. You can find them on YouTube and watch the whole thing if you didn't remember or never seen it before.
I have a list here. I did some research as to the top because, I've seen so many things.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of films that I think about. There's only a few.
Yeah.
But let's start off with your 5.
Okay. So my number 5, I think it more is a trailer more than a teaser, but it's kind of both. So it's Marvel's The Avengers to the End. It is a trailer that was released 10 days before Avengers Endgame, and it has a retrospective in 2 minutes of the entire MCU plus like 20 seconds of footage of Endgame. And I think it's so nostalgic. It's so perfectly edited and voiced over. And then you get just like a little taste of like what you're going to get in the grand finale. But I just think to me, it encapsulates how hard and impossible the journey was to get to that point. And the excitement is real. And you kind of hear the theme and you get that shot of Thanos and the final, and Chris Evans, the final, like whatever it takes. And I'm just like, let's freaking go. So for me, like that's actually the culminating. It's funny. I think Marvel actually does trailers better now than they did back then.
Oh
I
yeah,
really do.
because that Captain America 4 joint, the trailer looks good.
I really do. I think they're better at trailers now than they were when Iron Man and Cap. Like I went back through a bunch of those, and they're okay, but they're not like for me. They're not like there. But that end one for Endgame, if you haven't seen, it's called To the End. I think that one is perfect. So that's my number 5.
Okay. Number 5, Brian, is off the radar. I mean, I didn't know it was not IP, but I don't know. I'll mention it, and then if it is, then sure. I'll okay. I only chose this one, Brian, because I was thinking about it. I was like, what trailer had me like, I can't wait to see this. Because I'm so fascinated with this legend. When I saw the trailer, I said, yo, I can't wait to see this, because now they're really, I don't know, they may be taking it seriously. Right? His story. Dragon. The Bruce Lee story with Jason Scott.
Oh, okay. I remember this, and I know the music for this. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. When I saw that, man, I was like, oh, snap, Bruce Lee. Because Bruce Lee, man, anything Bruce Lee. And that, up until that point, there had never been something seriously done in terms of his biopic. And I know from what I read, his wife disapprove of this film?
Yes. And in fact, this one, I think it comes out, and the trailer came out right around the same time that Brandon Lee died. So there's also that element of The Crow was out in 92. He's obviously killed on set before it releases. This movie, I believe, comes out in 93. So the trailer comes out like right around the time that Bruce Lee is kind of back in our consciousness because his son passed away.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my number 5, because that was the first time I was like, wow, they're doing this. I can't wait to see what they do with it and how this guy performs as Bruce Lee. Because Bruce Lee was 101, and how do you replicate that on screen? It's hard, so I'm always curious about that.
You can't, because he tried it, and then there was a small movie like 6 or 7 years ago called Way of the Dragon, where there's another guy that tried to do it.
It was all right. It was all right.
I think the guys that did The Matrix actually did the choreography for that, the fight choreography for that fight he does with the Shaolin monk and that. But you can't. He tries the voice and he tries the energy, but nobody's Bruce Lee. That's the thing. That's interesting. That's I hadn't thought about that movie in a long time. My number 4 is a teaser that I'd be curious how many people remember it or even saw it, and it has a real interesting place in history. It is the teaser for the Sam Raimi Spider-Man in 2002. Do you even remember what is in that? Because it was pulled from theaters right after it was released.
No.
So the original cut, it does not feature a single shot from the actual movie. That's kind of what's cool about it. It shows a bank robbery in which they get away in a helicopter, and the helicopter is caught in a spider web that is between the two towers, the twin towers. And they released it. They packaged it and released it right at the same time as 9/11. So they had to pull it because it was showing the tower standing right after they had fallen. But the teaser is like 60 seconds. It just shows the robbery, it shows the web, and then it shows the tech of Spider-Man swinging through the city. And it just says in May 2002, kind of catch the ride of a lifetime kind of. And that's it. You don't see anything else other than the feel. And I think it's perfect as a teaser because it literally gives nothing away. You don't see Toby. You don't see Willem Dafoe. They don't even mention who's in the movie. They just show that sequence, and they show Spider-Man swinging through the skyscrapers of Manhattan. And that's it. But it kind of died on the vine because of what happened. But you can find it online. If you haven't seen it, it's actually really, really, it's really good and really different.
I remember reading about that, but I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen that. Interesting. I'm going to probably go check that out. My number 4, Brian, is when I think anybody saw this. I don't know if it was a teaser, but I remember the trailer of Jurassic Park.
Oh, good call.
It's like growing up as a kid, I was dinosaurs. I love watching dinosaurs and seeing and learning about that. But when I saw that, I can't wait for this movie. Jurassic Park is my number 4.
I agree. Great call. Totally IP. And Yeah, you're right. The book hype was so big. Spielberg's doing the movie. Yeah, that's a good call. Now I'm feeling bad I don't have that on my list, but that actually is really right. That actually is one of the best teaser trailer buildups to a film, where they don't show you anything at first, and they show you a little bit, because the first one is just like the logo. The very first teaser is literally just like the logo and the John Williams, the first little music. They show some key stuff without giving away the dinosaurs, which I think is really the art of it. Great call on that one. My number 3. So this was interesting to me when I really sat down and thought about it. I really truly believe that Superman has had a very proud legacy of trailers, more so than actual films. I think to me, I could have picked any one of these, but I think it's the final trailer to Superman Returns. And I'll send the link to it so you have the right one. I think they do a great job of building up from teaser to trailer in this, but I love the final trailer because it abandons the John Williams score and it starts to show some of the action and some of the sequencing and some of the flight effects. But the way they cut the final montage from when Kevin Spacey kind of says wrong, and then they kind of show like a quick cut leading up to him taking the bullet off his eye. I was so hyped for this and then so let down. But I was so hyped coming off this trailer. So the final trailer, I think, of her Superman Returns, I think it's trailer 3, is actually my one of my favorites. And I actually do rewatch it just from time to time and think of what might have been for that movie.
My number 3, and I'll talk to you about where we were when this came out, because I did not know about it. And I saw the trailer for Batman Begins.
Interesting that this was in my honorable mention, but I consider this. Yes, go ahead. Speak on it.
I was like, what is this? I think when I saw it the first time, I was like, oh, snap. When he opens his closet thing of his Batman stuff, and I was like, oh, and I went crazy. This was one of those moments where we weren't disappointed, Brian, because Batman Begins, for me, there are so many Batman moments in that movie, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
That they're unforgettable. You're only one. Now we're 2.
I totally agree with you. I think Batman Begins is actually gets more underrated by the year. It's funny you consider that you went with that one. I really thought through like how they did this, because I thought about doing actually the Dark Knight teaser, the one where Ledger's voice is introduced, where there's no footage, because I thought that was an interesting way to bring him into our world.
For me, that would be an honorable mention, yes.
And then Begins, you're right, has the footage, which I do think matters, and that's also that maybe you could argue is the bigger. I think maybe at the time the only thing that made me a little bit hesitant was we didn't know what Chris Nolan was going to become, right? Because he had just done Memento, which was cool, and he just done, I forget what the other one was, the one with Pacino, the one with Insomniac. He had done those 2 movies, so like he had shown promise, but you're like, this guy's doing a Batman movie, and then Batman's stock was kind of low coming off of Batman and Robin, so I remember being like, okay,
that's why I was
different.
Like,
looks different,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And I had seen Memento, so I knew the seriousness that he was taking this character in the film. So when I saw it, I was like surprised at the trailer, and I went crazy, and I couldn't wait for it. And we got some of the best Batman stuff we've seen on film.
No question.
So yeah, that's
no
my
question.
number 3.
Great pick. So my number 2, I'm staying in the Superman world, and we've talked about it a bunch. I think the Man of Steel teaser is it.
We'll talk about it because that's my number 2.
I think I'm sorry. Like, I just don't think you can tease Superman better. And I love the fact that there's a Jonathan Kent voiceover and a Russell Crowe voiceover, the 2 exact versions of the same thing. And I know the movie didn't live up to the promise of this footage, but I was so impressed being like, I know Zack Snyder's style, but it's so not visible in this teaser. Like everything is like, looks real, looks tactile, none of the super slow-mo. And then that effect of him flying at long range at supersonic speed with the boom and the vapor trail. I was like, I'm in. And this came out a year before the movie.
Yeah.
A year before the movie. And I was like, I just give this to me now, because this looks like everything I want. And I realized it wasn't. I like it, but I don't love it the way I probably should. But It is a perfect teaser in my eyes.
I was so hyped for this movie, Brian, when I saw the trailer. I was like this. I didn't care about what anybody else was doing. I just remember just watching the trailer over and over again. Couldn't wait to see this movie. So yeah, that's my number 2 as well.
I totally agree, and I think
our number 1 is going to be the same too.
Really, I don't think so. Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
But I will say, I think the promotion for Man of Steel was as good as any promotion campaign has ever been in the genre. I think they go 3 for 3 on trailers. If you watch all 3 in succession, I think it's perfect. Like the tease, they never use the Williams score. The vibe is different. The second one gives you some footage, but not a lot. The third one gives you more. Maybe it gives you too much. But then they introduce Hans Zimmer's Superman theme, which is really cool as an alternate in the last trailer. I mean, the hype was real. I mean, honestly, the hype probably made me enjoy my first watching of the movie maybe a little more than I should have, because I was pretty fired up. I remember talking to you in the office like on Monday, being like, that was epic. Like, I love this film. And then, like, over time, I'm like, I still like it, but like, I see the flaws more now when I watch it than I felt it the day that I saw it. But I remember being like, I was on a plane, like this. I remember I was flying somewhere, and I literally I went straight from the airport to the theater. It was the first thing I did. I was like, I landed, and I went and I watched the movie. Like, that's how excited I was.
Can you get your luggage out the way?
Yeah, no. Yeah, it was like literally that's. I was like, you guys can hold my bag up front. I need to see this right now. So but as promotion goes, that's what I mean by like this Superman movie to me has a lot to live up to in terms of promotion because of this. Like the legacy of how Superman has been fed to us through teasers and trailers has actually been phenomenal. Okay, I don't think you're going to have this one. So but it is my all-time favorite, and I watch it semi-regularly anyway. It is the trilogy teaser for Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
There is a teaser for all 3 movies because they were shot together and they were going to be released, obviously, in successive years. It gives you like 20 seconds of footage. It gives you really dramatic music, and then it gives you just a shot of all 9 of the Fellowship walking in the Misty Mountains, and that's it. It's just like a vibes trailer. I think it's perfect. It sets the tone for how serious they're taking the material. And look, the rest is history. I mean, New Line Studios exists today because of that film, and they obviously were nominated and ultimately won Academy Awards. But I think it's everything I want in a teaser while giving nothing away. So that is my number 1 of all time.
Yeah, I want to give an honorable mention to those, because not an honorable mention on mine because I wasn't really I wasn't as excited as everyone else was for this mention that I'm going to say, and that is the Star Wars Phantom Menace, because I know people that
so it's funny you had said that. You said so. I have Phantom Menace and Force Awakens. I think both first teaser trailers are really good, like bringing you back into the fold. So I agree. They were my honorable mentions. Yeah, for sure.
Right. We have been talking about this trailer before the movie came out. We were just giving it its praises. I was overzealous in terms of how much this movie was going to make. It didn't quite make it there, but it still showed that this character is still a powerhouse any day of the week. That is why James Gunn won't even mention Batman's name in terms of titles or anything like that, because if he does, it'll take the attention away from Superman. It is over. If he says this person, even if it's not Alan Richardson or Alan Richardson, whoever it is, that person's life has changed and he hasn't even shot a single frame yet.
Yep.
So he cannot say anything. But the Batman, Brian, that trailer had me going crazy. I could not wait I was looking at my notifications to see if I got can I purchase the tickets to go see the Batman. For me, it was the movie was a little bit too long. After watching it over and over again, I was like, what the hell? But still, if it's on, you can't help but watch the first hour of it because it's just amazing, I think. So for me, my number one, I mean, there's some honorable mentions that we'll probably get into real quick, but the Batman to me is number one in terms of listen, they hadn't even finished the movie yet. It wasn't
25%. 25% shot. You're referring to
25%.
Fandom teaser. That's what he's referring to. That was also one of my honorable mentions. But yes, and also similar to my Lord of the Rings one, a vibes trailer. Because the vibe that Reeves puts in the teaser is the movie. Like he's literally giving you the feel, the color palette. Like I'm changing course for what Batman can be and will be, and he carries it all the way through the promotion. This was another one where the promotion was great because each trailer teaser stuck to this idea and kept using the actual music from the film and the reds and the blacks and like the lack of color. Like they kept after you, to get you in the theater.
What are your honorable mentions?
We've covered most of them. So I had the 2 Star Wars ones, had the 2 Batman ones, Begins and The Batman. I also had the Matrix. So the Matrix, the trailer that has the Enigma music, and like the first time you kind of see bullet time, like that was the other like IP for me where I was like, wait, what? Like what? Like what is this? Like, that kind of thing. So so I had that on there. I looked at other ones and I ultimately didn't put them on there. Like I was debating, like, should I put like the Terminator 2 teaser where they just show him coming off the assembly line? I was like, no, I didn't put it on there, but it was good. I mean, I was just like, I don't really need to put that on there.
Another one that was good, Brian, but it just recently came out, so I really can't. I don't know, but it hasn't stuck with me because I'm not a fan. Not to say I'm not a fan because I don't like it, but I'm just it's whatever to me. But impressive it was the How to Train Your Dragon trailer.
Exactly. Live action How to Train Your Dragon teaser. No, that's fantastic. It is fantastic. Like it is, and especially if you've seen the animated, you get every beat in that trailer and you understand what they're riffing on. So it is pretty special in that regard. But no, there was a whole bunch that I considered, but I was like, it does.
I thought about Infinity War and Endgame. Those trailers, Brian, were like, oh snap, because we have been building towards it, and those trailers had us scratching.
Yeah, no, that's why I did the To the End one. To me, that one I like better. I like the way they use the music better, and I just like the retrospective. When you see it, it's like they literally give you a sequence from every one of the films leading up to Endgame. You just get this sense of like, wow, the monolith that's been created to where here we are, 12 years later at the precipice of this climax. So that for me was the one. But there's a whole bunch of, I couldn't find an X-Men one that I thought was brilliant. Like I actually went back and rewatched a few, but I don't think that one, I don't think that one's had that, like, maybe it'll be this, maybe it'll be the mutant verse of, that we're getting with Marvel, but I just don't think we've had one there that was so spectacular. The Jurassic Park one though, that one I'm regretting. I didn't even think about that, but that one actually should be on the list.
So Brian, having said and described the feeling that we get or we've had with some of these trailers, the expectation is for this trailer, Brian, is to do the same thing. This trailer cannot be, as soon as I see, if you hesitate, you can hesitate, but the expression on your face has to look, you have to be amazed. And there's just no sugarcoating in terms of how successful this trailer has to be in terms of building the excitement that it needs to get for people to be ready on day 1, 2, 3, and then the following weekend. We've talked about it over and over again, how pivotal this trailer and this movie is for the future of the DCU, because again, we have all these projects on the line, getting ready to film. We have dates for other projects. Again, no mention of Batman, because if you do, that's a mistake. I'll say this. I don't know if I didn't send you this, but there's this YouTube channel guy that I think is Road to Superman. He talked about And he could, I don't know how, but the rumor is he stated that is a bit of punk rockish feeling or vibes. Sounds like his MO, Brian. That concerns me.
Oh, heck yes. That's not what I'd be looking for.
And I heard he also mentioned, because this dude has just been, this is all he does, Road to Superman.
Okay.
He's only done a few, like 60-something episodes ever since this was announced. Because he's just been researching and just keeping up on the news. And that the teaser showed my favorite friend, Crypto, and only a few hints of Superman. All of this sounds concerning. I just hope that it isn't the case, and I hope that it smacks. Because if it doesn't, it's not like I'm not gonna go see it. Who doesn't go see a Superman? What superhero comic book fan doesn't go see a Superman at least once?
Yeah.
You know? But in terms of will we see it again? I don't know if this movie doesn't hit the way it's supposed to.
Well, again, I mean, I think, yeah, all of what you just said kind of concerns me. I think, I mean, like I said, I think history would say a vibes trailer is really what you want. You don't want to be long. To me, I would rather be 75 seconds or 90 seconds or less. But I want a vibes trailer. Like I want to have a sense of the world that I'm going to live in. I don't need a lot of Superman, but I think I need one Superman something. I need an effect, a hint of something that shows me visually what you have in mind. That's why I think the Zach supersonic flight is such a good idea, because you don't even see Cavill in the suit. You can't make out his face. You just know who it is from a distance. But the speed, the shaky cam lets you know like what Zach's going for visually. And I think Gunn has to, I would really hope Gunn tries for something similar, which is like, this is my own version. I shot this thing in IMAX and I've got this hint of some visual effect for how Superman's going to operate that I want you to get just a little taste of. And then beyond that, I don't need like a lot of dialogue. Quick cuts showing Lois, quick cuts showing like little, like these individual characters. Yeah, Crypto is fine. I don't care. But yeah, I don't need a lot of like actual contiguous scenes. I just need feel. But punk rock worries me because that feels very Suicide Squad. That feels very vintage Gunn. The stuff that we would have said would make him unsuitable to direct this kind of movie. I've kind of accepted these days that they kind of always remix, popular songs for these trailers. So I'm kind of expecting with Gunn's musical knowledge, we will get something like that. But, I would prefer, if you're going to do that, like a more epic, heroic sounding remix of something. I could even send you. There's one that's floating around. It's like a remix of Louis Armstrong's "What a Wonderful World," but it's done in a way that's really epic sounding. Where I'm like, and it's very uplifting. And I'm kind of like something like that, where it's like I'm kind of connecting the lyrics of that song to that shot that Gunn has already released of Superman sitting with Crypto watching the world, right? And that idea of like, what a wonderful world. Like that's the kind of vibe I feel like I want from this. I don't want to feel like I'm going to be in some hip, snappy, like, what I mean? Like Travolta walking down the street with Saturday Fever style Superman. That's not what we're looking for. Yeah, Disco Superman is not what I'm here for. But we'll see. But you're right. Look, the thing is, this thing is going to buzz. And the question is, which way does it buzz, right? If we're doing our emergency pod and what we're talking about is Superman's suit looks funny and the feel and the vibe and the music of this feels all wrong, then I guarantee you WB is going to overcorrect the next time. And that's when we run the risk of like, they start just firing out the footage. Now we're getting all the spoilers. Like, we don't want that. So a lot hinges on the reaction to this. If everyone's talking about like, this looks incredible, unique, the world is ready for something that looks like this, great. Then they can keep all the cards close to the chest. So a lot riding on this.
Because if it don't work out.
It's like, Mr. Zasloff, you have Amazon on line 1 and Apple on line 2.
Bring me the numbers. Yeah, yo, that's what it's gonna be. That's what it's gonna be. That's what it's gonna be. That's what it's gonna be.
By the way, you see, speaking of teasers, I texted you about this. Did you watch the Reacher 30-second teaser?
Yeah.
You see the size of the dude they got to fight him in season 3?
Imagine.
I was like, that looks like, yeah. I was like, that's Batman and Bane right there. That's it.
There you go. There you go. But there you go. Easy. Just put something on him and that's it. That's why it is a mistake to say this guy is Batman right now, because your Superman flops and Zaslav fast tracks Batman. You know what I'm saying? And we can't have that. But I'll tell you, last thing before we sign off. Let's say Superman is successful. Would you say that he will do his Brave and the Bold movie before he does a Superman 2?
Ooh. Okay. So Superman 25, Supergirl 26 were baked, but you're saying, okay, and Batman Part 2 is end of 26. But Superman delivers. I think they fast track 2. Don't you think? Like, if that really delivers, like if Superman is like Top Gun Maverick, I would think they reshuffle and put everything in on writing and getting that back to the theater. Because at that point, what is the rush for Batman, Brave and the Bold? That would be my question, right? So we assume Batman 2 is going to be successful coming off the Penguin. If Superman is successful, why do we need DCU Batman at that point right away? See what I'm saying? Like, I don't see the urgency. So then I would say, let's go Superman 2 as the next like tentpole. And then at that point, you got lanterns on TV. Like you're rolling with some stuff. I would tend to think, yeah, that might actually push Brave and the Bold back a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see like they have to bring Batman in if they've already got Pattinson and the Corn Sweat thing working.
It's interesting dilemma with the Batman character. We're foreshadowing future episodes, people.
Also, Brave and the Bold, he's the second build character, right? Damian's the lead. I would just point that out. Like people who are like, that's DCU Batman. I'm like, yeah, it is, but it kind of isn't, because like he's not. He's the mentor. He's the older of the two.
He is the DCU Batman. Certainly, the focal point is not him, but Batman can be whack, no matter what capacity he's in.
No, but I'm just saying, like the movie, he's at the edge of the spotlight. He's not solely in the spotlight of Brave and the Bold. That's not the point. The point is that Damian Wayne is the part. That's why I was saying, like, not that Chalamet would do it, but like if you're an actor, I think you want the Damian part in that movie more than you want the Bruce part, because the Damian part's where you get to go crazy and be psychotic and live on the edge of heroism and villainy, and like the Bruce part is like you're kind of the Liam Neeson mentor character.
But that guy has to be the one to rein him in and form a relationship where Damian trusts him, because he's only trusted the League of Shadows or whoever he's trained with, right? So that relationship, although Batman isn't involved in terms of the day-to-day of Damian and whatever he's doing or trying to keep up with him or whatever the case may be, he still has to be the guy. I don't say he's going to be in every scene, but he's almost in every third or fourth. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He's there a lot because that's Batman's son.
Yeah, he is, but this is the thing, right? If you put him in too much, then he upstages the lead of the. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has to be metered out in a way that, like, this is our guy, but he's not gonna dominate this film. He's gonna whet your appetite for the other thing we're gonna do with him, where he is the star. that like the lead dog.
Yes. Okay.
That's the balance that I see there.
A lot of things to look forward to if Superman does do what it's supposed to do, what we expect it to do, what it has to do. Because if it doesn't,
it all begins. This is it, man. That's why
Reynolds,
we say.
Yes.
And as I said, the legacy of Superman promotion is very strong. You don't want to put your first step wrong here.
Would you agree that the Creature Commandos intro where it has the DCU emblem and Superman breaking is? I said that I didn't put it out, but I was just trying to keep the NerdGen fans informed. But that is Mickey Mouse to the DCU.
Yeah.
That is Mickey Mouse. And I wasn't impressed with that intro, Brian. I have to say, respectfully, I wasn't impressed. Why? Being this your first outing into the DCU and your creation and what you're showing us, that intro should have been more impressive. To me, it should have been more impressive.
So DC already has the perfect intro, but they can't use it anymore. It's the intro to the original Justice League cartoon. That's it. Like the way they show the original founding members in the shadows, but then kind of the way it's animated, that was the Marvel thing before Marvel did it. And they can't do it like anymore because it's already out there. But I'm saying that is more what you're looking for. But I thought it was, I just thought it was odd because when the thing flashed up, I almost kept waiting for like other characters to be highlighted. And I was like, wow, you really want this to be all on his shoulders. Like you wouldn't even put Batman in this sequence. It's a Superman show. It's all Superman show. That's a Zazoff. See, that's a Zazoff thing to me, right? Because he loves Superman. He's a Superman guy. He's more than a Batman guy. I assume that's kind of part of what that is. But
the thing is also is like you can't put anything else up there because why? People start talking and start wondering, start asking questions. Again, the all the attention is on whatever James Gunn wants us to see and what he eventually wants us to just be taking aback and relish in this movie that he is again, he wrote what in 2 weeks or whatever, he had it written already.
Yeah.
This is his baby.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, it's funny. There's an interview that Matt Damon gave looking back on Ocean's 11, which reminds me of this whole Batman thing. Because obviously Ocean's 11, there's a lot of stars in that movie. And he makes a reference to like, well, George, meaning George Clooney. He's like, George Clooney and I never had any problems with the paparazzi. He said, because we would just send Brad Pitt out first. So he would go one way, we'd go the other, and they just follow him. And I'm like, Brad Pitt is Batman. Batman goes out the door, everybody follows him. So Superman can just walk down the street and nobody notices. That's it. They can't let Batman out of the barn because it becomes all about Batman.
Yeah, he knows it. And whoever else doesn't know it, whatever. Think
well,
whatever
again,
you want to think.
I don't know if Deathstroke and Bane and Clayface are a good idea, but whose rogues gallery do they belong to? That's kind of all you need. I don't see any momentum for the Bizarro Metallo solo films, right? Like I'm just saying, like it's one character that they want to build this entire, like they want to do all these other things with Joker, all this sort of stuff. It's always Batman.
I'll say this and then we'll sign off. The Penguin is just the beginning of an idea that I think they're perhaps thinking about and which makes sense. Let's give them a reason for why Batman should go after these guys. The way the Penguin left off, we want Penguin to go get him. I mean, we want Batman to go get him. These other guys, Clayface, Bane, or whatever the case may be, let's see whatever it is that they do. Hopefully it can be compelling enough, but we'll know what Batman has to contend with when he faces those guys.
Oh, it's such a great point.
We'll
never get this. We'll never get this. But one of the things I thought about with the Penguin after we had seen how the Riddler was reinvented, they'll never do this. But if they could ever get Reeves to do a build-up to Nightfall, you don't want to see his version of like bringing the rogues in and then how Bane releases all of them and Batman has to stop all of them one by one, and then you get Matt Reeves' version of the Batman Bane showdown. Like, I would kill to see that over decade worth of product. It'll never happen.
This is what you do. You do that movie where he goes after them. You end the movie with them about to fight.
Where he's totally fatigued and Bane has figured out his identity and is waiting for him at the mansion. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the next movie, yeah. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of James Gunn's DCU so far. And listen, hopefully this trailer doesn't come out on Tuesday, because usually trailers come out on Tuesdays.
Well, they're saying Thursday. I mean, unless it leaks after the press screening, but we'll see. But whatever. There'll be emergency. We'll be one of them. There'll be emergency pods.
YouTube is going to crash. Oh, snap. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think. Please remember to hit that like and subscribe button. And we'll see you next time on the NerdGen Report.
The show goes on.